It's now time to get real about the Baltimore Ravens and ask this question. Can the Baltimore Ravens really win the Super Bowl with this version of Lamar Jackson? My answer, no. We discuss next on the GM. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy Boulanger. Up next on the GM, the Baltimore Ravens cannot win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson. Do me a quick favor, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you get updates when we upload new content. Let's talk about it. If you stayed through the intro, that either means you're mad enough with me to hear me out, or you're interested enough in what I have to say to hear me out. Either way, I'm asking, please hear me out. I don't believe the Baltimore Ravens can win a Super Bowl with this version of Lamar Jackson. Granted, he's a great playmaker. He's definitely made strides in passing. He's a great runner with the ball. He's elusive. He's fast. He's smart. He can make all the throws. But yet and still, they cannot win with this version of Lamar Jackson. Belanger, what are you talking about? You better get to it because I'm about to check out. Let me explain. Let me provide you a context built on, not around. Okay? You see, the Baltimore Ravens have not built a team around Lamar Jackson. They built the offense on top of Lamar Jackson. See, we've heard that the Baltimore Ravens since 2019 has built an offense around Lamar Jackson. I've even had people come at me and call me stupid and ignorant and what kind of GM are you? I never claimed to be a GM. The Baltimore Ravens have built a team around Lamar Jackson, but we don't have any evidence of that. When we look at 2019, we don't have any evidence that the Baltimore Ravens added any real pieces around Lamar Jackson. I'm not talking about what you draft. You see, I'm not interested in having a first year starter basically and you draft a first round wide receiver to be his number one target. I'm not interested in that. That's not being built around. I'm not accepting that Mark Ingram is building around Lamar Jackson. I'm not accepting any of that. I'm not accepting that you bring in a Dez Bryant and that's building around Lamar Jackson. I'm not accepting that you bring in an old Deshaun Jackson. I'm not accepting that you bring in a washed up Sammy Watkins, and that's what you call building around Lamar Jackson. I'm not accepting Willie Snead and Seth Roberts. You see, am I saying he has to have the best of the best? No. See, somebody commented to me a couple of weeks back saying Lamar Jackson has to have it perfect. That's not so. He's never had it perfect. But this offense has been built on top of him, which means there is no room for error from his position. That's why every throw that's off, that's why every interception that's made, that's why every fumble that's made, that's why it gets exponentially more important to eliminate the mistakes because he can afford to make mistakes, which then makes it unfair. You see, what do I mean by making it unfair? You see, if something's built on top of something else, that's called the foundation. And if your foundation starts to shift and move, everything else on top of it becomes vulnerable, right? Yeah, right. And so when Lamar Jackson misses a throw, it gets highlighted. When he fumbles a ball, should he make should he miss a throw? No, but he's not perfect. Should he throw an interception? No, but he's not perfect. Should he fumble the ball? No, but he's not perfect. But when he does have those imperfect moments, the whole offense comes crashing down on top of him. Why? Because it's set up for him to be the only real playmaker. How do we know this? Well, we can take a snapshot of the AFC Championship and we can see when he didn't make the play, a play wasn't made. See, when he needed somebody else to lift him up and pick him up, they literally dropped the ball too. You see, how do we know also that this offense is built on top of Lamar versus around Lamar? Well, Case in point, he has led the Baltimore Ravens in rushing for 5 years of his six. And if we're honest, he would have led it 6 out of 6 if he had been a full-time starter in 2018. Let's just be honest. And I understand he has a great skill set to run the ball, but I can't be the best runner and the best quarterback at the same time. It's impossible. It's impossible to do that, which means I got to make all the plays in the run game and all the plays in the passing game. And we even saw him make a play in the AFC Championship where he caught the ball too. So when he got to run it, pass it, and catch it, I mean, what else is he gonna do? You see, when we look at how this team has been constructed, the Baltimore Ravens get some praise because they went out and got a couple of wide receivers. And I guess this year's wide receiver group was way better than last year's wide receiver group. And I think that's just simply because of Zay. Zay was so dynamic that it made the rest of the other dudes look better than what they looked. But we can't look back and say that drafting a rookie wide receiver is building an offense around Lamar Jackson. We can't say that that bringing in an old Dez Bryant, an old Deshaun Watson, a washed up um, Sammy Watkins, a cast off in Demarcus Robinson. We can't say that's considered building a around Lamar Jackson. Am I say go out and just get the best wide receiver out there? No, no, I'm not saying that at all. But if you're going to build around somebody who has the type of talent that Lamar Jackson has had and has, why wouldn't we go and get him a running back who's already proven? Not Mark Ingram, who was already approaching 30 and hadn't had a real dominant year in a while. Why wouldn't we go out and try and get a guy like a DeAndre Hopkins before Arizona got DeAndre Hopkins? Why wouldn't we try and go and get an Odell Beckham when he was released by the Browns? Why wouldn't we try and go get an Amari Cooper? These aren't the top of the league guys. These are just good players who could have helped out a young quarterback. See, I had somebody tell me, well, the quarterback is responsible for helping develop a wide receiver. I agree with that. But if that quarterback doesn't have the ability to help develop a wide receiver, then you go get him a wide receiver that's already developed. I'm not saying to you guys that the Baltimore Ravens have not put forth some effort, but we have to stop the narrative that this offense has been built around him. I think that the Baltimore Ravens have to make effort in this offseason to build out the offense. Part of the reason why we got hung up with Odell Beckham is because Baltimore had not handled their business with contracts, and Odell was the best of the best names that were left. Not that he was the best, he was the best of what was left. That's why we end up having to overpay him. And not that this year's crop of, or excuse me, last season's crop of free agent wide receivers were great, but we got the least. That's why he was still out there and available. You see, I understand that we got Rashad Bateman. See, we can always talk about the potential of who's on the roster, but I'm no longer talking about potential. I'm talking about what's proven. Potential is yet to happen. Proven is what I've already done. And there was nobody, excuse me, on the roster prior to this year's crop of wide receivers that had done anything in recent year that we could stand on. And even when you look at this year's crop, meaning 2023 crop of wide receivers, they haven't done anything in the most recent years to validate them being brought aboard. So I don't want to hear about being built around. This offense has been built on top of. And I think that if the Baltimore Ravens are going to make a legitimate step at taking a shot at the champs, they have to undo the way they do offense specifically, and they have to build this offensive roster out, especially with weapons. See, if Lamar Jackson can be an ultimate weapon in the run game and, of course, in the passing game, then how much easier would his life be and how much easier could this offense flow if we built it out with some weapons? If we went and got him a guy who was like that at wide receiver, not a guy who still has to come in and prove something, or not a guy who's had a couple of down years and has to come in and prove something. No, but a guy who has recently done something that says, let's go get him. He can be a great piece to what we're doing. You see, I have in this series of videos getting honest about the Ravens, I'm going to talk about free agency and I'm going to talk about the draft because I think that when you take a look across the league, there's really only one team that stands in our way, and that's the Chiefs, who are the champs. And I think that part of what you see happening with Kansas City is they're building around Patrick Mahomes. Yes, it was already Mahomes and Kelsey, but then they say, okay, let's go get Rasheed Rice, and then they even made a move when they got Kadarius Toney last year. Okay, not this version, but last year's version, which means they were trying to build around their guy. Watson, they went and tried to build around him. They drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think that's his name, how you pronounce it or whatever, a couple of years ago in the first round. But what did they do? They say, look, let's upgrade and go get Pacheco, right? They came and talked to Baltimore about Orlando Brown. They used him, got a chip, and moved on in hopes that they would improve where? Around Mahomes. See, you see a continual effort to churn personnel, to make an effort to kind of build out the roster around so that he doesn't always have to make the play. Can he make the play? Yes, absolutely. But when teams face the Ravens, teams know that if I stop that guy, we have a better than none chance of winning the game, meaning Lamar Jackson. But when you watch the game last night, the Super Bowl, you saw guys around Mahomes make make plays. You saw Pacheco run hard. You saw Miko Hardman make the winning touchdown. You saw Travis Kelsey ball. You saw Christian Watson make a big play down the right side of the line. Yeah, you have to throw the ball, but those guys have to be able to make the play when the ball gets there. And sometimes it doesn't look like we have those same opportunities. And you saw elite play calling. See, the Chiefs have a system that they trust. And when you can trust the system that you're in and you build around that quarterback, you have a recipe to win. But in Baltimore, Lamar Jackson is the offense. And until we undo that methodology, right, we don't win. You see, wh- when Lamar Jackson lines up in the backfield, nobody we have other than Zay is scary. Teams can manage Isaiah Likely because they know the system and play calling sometimes is hit or miss with the Ravens. People know that they can manage Mark Andrews. And so I think that this version of the Ravens, this version of offense, this version of Lamar Jackson can't win. think you have to build around him. You have to make him not the number one rushing threat for their team. And I get it. Injuries have played a big part in that. But I haven't seen the Ravens really go out and try and build this offensive line. It's always some type of supplemental part, a cast off from some other team. And I haven't really seen them make a real effort to go get a guy at wide receiver. That's going to make Lamar Jackson better. That's going to make Zay's life better. That's going to make Mark Andrews' life better. That's going to make Isaiah Likely's life better. And I'm not just talking about wide receiver. I'm talking about all parts. Because when you look at this Ravens team as currently constructed, the offensive line needs improvement. The running back room needs improvement. The wide receiver room needs improvement. The only two stable pieces of our offense is Lamar Jackson and the tight end room. And with Mark Andrews consistently hurt over the last couple of years, he's now become more of a question. And so I think that we have to take a real look at how we play offense and undo some things. Can Lamar Jackson still run the ball? Yeah. But it needs to look more like um, 6 to 8 rushes per game, 4 to 6 of them scrambles, and 2 to 3 of them called runs. Why? Because you have a guy in the backfield that you can legitimately hand it off to that causes fear in a defense. Nobody's afraid of our running backs. Nobody. Because at the end of it all, it still comes back to Lamar Jackson making a play. And if he don't, then don't no plays get made. And it's even like that on defense. If we really want to talk about how great our defense was, when it's really time to make a play, we don't always make it. When the game is in crunch time, think about what you saw from the Chiefs last night. When it was time to make a play, Trent McDuffie stepped up and made a play. When it was time to make a play, Sneed stepped up and made a play. When it was time to get the San Francisco 49ers off the field, Chris Jones got into the backfield and helped get them off the field. The Baltimore Ravens are missing some pieces offensively and defensively. And I'm not even talking about free agents. I'm talking about what they're missing, even though this defense was great. And I know that sounds real crazy. That sounds real crazy that the defense is missing something, even though it was already great. We'll talk about it when I get to free agency conversations. But unless we undo how the offense is ran, can Lamar Jackson be the central point of the Ravens offense? He has to be. He's the quarterback. But I think we need the type of talent that can make a play, right? When you look at, let me give you another example, then I'm done. When you take a look at the 49ers, when they can think about what I'm going to say, when they can take a seventh round quarterback and in 2 seasons have that guy play in the NFC Championship and then in the Super Bowl, and he played well enough to put his team ahead in overtime of the Super Bowl, that says something. That doesn't say he's better than Lamar Jackson. That says how his team is built around him is better. The coaching is better. The system that he plays in is better. Now, it's going to be very rare to have a Pro Bowl left tackle and an all pro left tackle and all pro running back, a Pro Bowl at wide receiver, and a Pro Bowl tight end. And then you just get dropped in and your offense looks good around you. That's very, very rare. But that's why uh, Purdy could be so successful. I'm not taking away that he didn't make plays and he didn't make throws and he didn't play a good game. That's not what I'm not. I'm not in that camp. I'm saying that there is a benefit for a quarterback to have good pieces around him who could make a play. Having good play design. And so I'm simply saying, no matter what you guys think about Lamar Jackson, whether you love him, like him, or hate him, we can't win a Super Bowl in Baltimore if we keep playing offense the same way, where Lamar Jackson has to do it all. You see, you want to relieve that pressure off him. You want to relieve the pressure off him as well, so he doesn't feel like he has to do it all. Where he can feel like, man, I got a guy I can hand it to, and he can take it to the house. I got a guy I can throw it to uh, in the slot, and he can take it to the house. When you look at the Baltimore Ravens, you looking at an offense that's Lamar Jackson or nothing. See, remember on the sideline, we saw the clip where Odell Beckham is like, "Hey man, you shift the whole game when you run the ball. What's going on?" That's the sign of an offense built on top of one player. What if they had a running back that could shift the whole game when they run the ball? What if they had a wide receiver who could shift the whole game when they on the field? When they can have such a gravity they pull a defense. I don't know if the Baltimore Ravens will go out and do big game hunting in free agency. I really doubt if they do, but I think there needs to be a big investment this year in the offense because this offense is built on Lamar, not around him, and that's always going to set him up to be unsuccessful. Because when all the chips are on the table, nobody cares about nobody else on this offense. And so that's why I say they can't win. Not doing it this way. Not doing it this way. And for those people who want to talk about other quarterbacks, remember Patrick Mahomes is in another stratosphere at this point. So when you want to start talking about the other guys, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, whatever, I want you to take a peek on how their offenses are also constructed. And you tell me if it looks like the Ravens. The only guy I would say their offense is 100% depending on if he makes a play or not is Josh Allen. He has to be a big time runner and thrower of the football as well, which is also why they're not successful. Not that they don't win, but what I mean is ultimate success. So that's my take, man. Let me know what you guys want me to know. Do you guys think this offense has really been built around Lamar Jackson? Or do you think, like myself, it's been built on top of him, which does not allow him any leeway not to be perfect? I'm your guy, Boulanger. This is the GM, and I'm out.